Hi, my name is Patrick Reagan. Welcome to the fourth practice quiz for the A+ 1101 exam. This quiz represents 25 typical questions for the 1101 A+ exam. As you go through these questions, you may pause the videos if you need more time to think through the question. Remember, don't try to remember each question and answer, but try to understand why the answer is the right answer. Each answer will also be referenced in the video where the answer can be found. Question 1. You cannot access the internet. You run the following commands to help troubleshoot the problem. ipconfig/all, ping 8.8.8.8, ping CompTIA.org. Which of the following does this series of commands represent? Answer: identify the problem. By running these commands, you're determining the extent of the problem, which is identify the problem. Question 2. You are unable to click the buttons on the laptop trackpad and some of the keyboard. When you inspect the laptop, there does not appear to be any physical damage. Which is most likely the cause of the issue? Answer: swollen battery. The most likely cause of the issue is that the laptop has a swollen battery, which is a condition where the battery expands due to gas buildup inside the cells. A swollen battery can cause physical damage to the laptop, such as pushing against the trackpad or keyboard and preventing them from functioning properly. Question 3. You're installing a computer in a high security environment with triple monitors. All USB ports are disabled due to the security policy. What should you do? Answer: implement a docking station. You connect your laptop or tablet to the docking station via a single cable or port. Once connected, the docking station provides additional ports and slots for peripherals such as monitors, keyboards, mice, printers, external storage devices, speakers, and more. Question 4. You have a ticket regarding a user's missing email. You also know that the email retention policy was updated recently. What should you do next to resolve the issue? Answer: establish a theory of probable cause of the issue. So far, you've identified the problem, including identifying changes. Now you need to establish the theory of probable cause. Question 5. You are troubleshooting a desktop computer. You hear a repetitive clicking noise and the computer appears to be slow. Which of the following would you consider replacing? Choose 2. Answer: the storage device, the power supply. Clicking noises can be caused by mechanical drives, the power supply, or fans. Clicks are indicators of mechanical problems. Question 6. Some keys on your laptop are sticking. Which should you use first to clean the keyboard? Answer: compressed air. The first thing you should do is use compressed air to clean out dust and debris around the keys. Hold the laptop at an angle and spray the compressed air around the stuck keys. Question 7. You're connecting a USB device into a USB port and you notice that the device does not push in the entire way. Which of the following is most likely the cause? Answer: a foreign object is stuck inside the port. There's something that is inside the port that is blocking the connector to be fully inserted. Question 8. When would you recommend RAID 0 over RAID 5? Answer: when speed is the biggest concern. RAID 0, striping without parity, is the fastest RAID and does not have any form of redundancy. Also, RAID 0 offers greater storage capacity. RAID 5 is striping with parity, which uses one of the drives to provide parity that offers a form of redundancy. Question 9. You just purchased an OEM computer. You later decide to purchase a new graphics card with multiple HDMI ports. However, the new HDMI port are not getting a signal to the monitor, but the original HDMI cable that is part of the motherboard works just fine. What is the problem? Answer: check the UEFI settings for the PCIe graphics card to make sure it is enabled. UEFI settings control the behavioral hardware components, and in this case, ensuring that the PCIe graphics is enabled in the UEFI settings can help the system recognize and utilize the new graphics card. Question 10. You need to configure a laptop so that the SSD level encryption is enabled. You decide to enable BitLocker. However, you get an error message that the BIOS level settings has not been turned on. What should you check first? Answer: ensure that the Trusted Platform module is enabled. BitLocker, which provides SSD level encryption, often relies on the Trusted Platform module, or TPM, for secure key storage. If TPM is not enabled in the BIOS, BitLocker may not function correctly. Question 11. How can you check to see if a mechanical drive is corrupt, although the files seem to be readable? Choose two answers. Answer: check SMART information, run check disk. SMART, short for Self-Monitoring, Analysis, and Reporting Technology, provides information about the health and status of a hard drive. Checking SMART information can help identify potential issues with the drive. Check disk is a Windows utility that scans and fixes issues with the file system and logical structure of a disk. Running check disk can address file system related problems. Question 12. You have multiple large screens in an operations room that were recently moved but are not currently working. You verified that the monitors have power and are turned on. What is the next thing you should check? Answer: ensure the input connections to the screen are connected properly and securely. If the monitors have power and are turned on, it would make sense you would need to check to make sure the cables are connected properly. Question 13. You have a printer that is shared by multiple people. When someone prints a letter-sized document, it prints fine. When someone prints a legal-sized document, the paper jams. What is most likely the problem from the options shown? Answer: worn rollers. If you have problems with paper jams, something is in the path or the rollers are not pick up and moving the paper properly. Although letter-sized documents print fine, different rollers would be used on the legal size tray. Question 14. On your computer, you configure the host file to have an IP address for the local web server. A week later, you cannot ping or connect to the server. What should you do? Choose two answers. Answer: make sure the server is configured with a static IP address. Make sure there's a DHCP IP reservation for the server. When you use a host file to specify name resolution, you have to ensure that it has the correct IP address for the specified host or computer listed. If the address changes, you also have to change the host file. Therefore, you need to use either a static IP address or a DHCP IP reservation so that the IP address does not change. Question 15. On your computer, you configure the host file to have an IP address for the local web server. A week later, you cannot ping the server, but you can connect to the server's web page. What should you do? Answer: check the firewall. Since you can connect to the web page, the host file appears to be operating properly. Sometimes firewalls are used to block ICMP packets since they can be used in some denial of service attacks. Question 16. While you're in the office, you can back up work-related files to an external hard drive while at work, but you cannot save files to an external drive at home. What is most likely the problem? Answer: peripherals are managed via MDM. Similar to using group policy and other security software packages for domain-based Windows computers, MDM can be used to lock down the device to ensure sensitive data is not copied away from the work environment and malware is not introduced with the external devices. Question 17. You have a laser printer with virtual lines. What should you do first? Answer: replace the toner cartridge. A line can be caused by the scratch on the drum or a problem with the fuser. However, you should try to replace the toner cartridge which contains the drum. It is an easier item to replace. If it's not the cartridge, you can still reuse the rest of the toner in the older cartridge. Question 18. You have a laptop that was running fine, but recently has been slow to respond. You've checked for malware, deleted temporary files, closed unnecessary programs, and rebooted the computer. What should you do next? Answer: bench test the laptop. You have checked the most obvious. Now you need to dig deeper by running diagnostic and performance tests on the laptop to identify potential problems that may contribute to the slowness. Therefore, you would bench test the computer. Question 19. What is a portable, low-cost solution that is small enough to carry in a pocket and has the largest capacity possible? Answer: flash drive. A flash drive, also known as a USB drive or thumb drive, is a compact and portable storage solution that can easily fit in a pocket. It offers convenience, ease of use, and a range of storage capacities, including high-capacity options. Question 20. You're replacing your Ethernet RJ45 cables. Which of the following tools would you need? Choose 3 answers. Answer: cable tester, crimper, wire cutters. To create the Ethernet cables with RJ45 connectors, you'll need wire cutters and crimpers. When the cables are made, you'll then use the cable tester to test the cable. Question 21. Which type of RAM would you find in a special purpose graphics controller which will be used in a graphics workstation? Answer: VRAM. VRAM is a type of memory that's specifically designed for graphics processing. It allows for fast read and write operations, which are crucial for rendering high-quality images and videos. Question 22. You have an option to install SATA 3, NVMe, IDE, and eSATA. Which of these options give the best performance? Answer: M2 SSD connected via the NVMe interface. The SSD is the fastest of these drives that are all electronics connected to the NVMe interface, which gives the fastest interface listed. Question 23. You're setting up a scanner. When the department scans something, those scans must be available to everyone within the network. What should you do? Answer: scan to a shared folder via SMB. Server Message Block, or SMB, is a network technology used to share files, printers, and other resources on a local network. By scanning into a shared folder, you can grant permissions to access to the shared folders to everyone in the department. Question 24. You have a Cat5 UDP cable that is approximately 300 feet or 91.4 meters from the network switch to a hardware device located on the factory floor. However, data seems to be sporadic. On the network adapter, the flashing light is sometimes green and sometimes orange. What should you do first to fix the problem? Answer: check for loose connections, pinch ends, and physical damage. When looking at potential problems, check the obvious by checking the cable for damage, including checking the connectors and checking for pinched ends. Question 25. You just started with the new company. You went into the wiring closet and discovered that while the wires are terminated, nothing is labeled. What tool can you use to find which wire connects to a wall jack in an office? Answer: use a toner probe. A toner probe is a tool used to trace and identify cables in a network or wiring system. The toner is connected to one end of the cable, and the technician uses the probe to trace the corresponding cable in the wiring closet. Thank you for watching this video. The next video will be 1102 Practice Exam number 1. Thank you.